So Sourav Ganguly has been a great cricketer, great cricket ambassador, but he's been the BCCI president right now. So how would you rate his tenure as the BCCI president?
He faced a very steep initial challenge due to COVID. That is something that cannot be denied. No no BCCI president has faced this hurdle. So whatever happens, this has to be kept in mind in the early days. The IPL was not being able to host the IPL in the usual months in 2020 was a huge blow. There was no doubt about that. After that, when the IPL happened, the Women's T20 Challenge also happened. Ranji Trophy had to go for one season. I suppose there was little that could be done about it. Whatever cricket was, the situation in India went out of hand, the COVID situation at one point. So until then, you could see BCCI trying in at least hosting some domestic matches. But the problem was, as we know, payments were delayed. I think there were the Indian Express ran some extensive research about domestic cricketers' payments being stalled. That was a huge blow. That should have been that could have been avoided. And then India women, their payments for the T20 World Cup 2020, that was delayed by over a year, and it had to be pointed out by an overseas journalist for that process to be accelerated. So that I felt was very unprofessional. See, after all, cricketers play for money. It is all right to say they play for passion and whatever abstract noun you can use, but in the end, you have to pay your bills. And the cricketers play largely because they can run their families, they can run their household. And in a COVID hit situation, and this is only the cricketers that we are talking about. Uh, there's the support cast, the umpires, scorers, uh, association members, and people without actual contracts. I mean, their payments were stalled. They went through a rough phase, and it looks rosy. Uh, the highest level looks rosy, the international cricket, the IPL. There's no doubt about that. But domestic cricket could have been handled well. Since its inception, we saw for the first time women's T20. The women's T20 challenge didn't take place last year. This year also, there's no plan. There's no reason for it to coincide with the IPL, because in 2020, the last time it hosted, Geo sponsored it. Geo came in as title sponsor. So there's absolutely no reason for it to be hosted alongside the IPL. But okay, I'm not sure whether it will be held in 2022 as well. So let's see. I don't think domestic cricket, especially women's domestic cricket, is handled the way it should be.
I think women's cricket does actually. You mentioned a point about women's cricket. I think it's growing now. I think they're getting some kind of advertisement at least, like than what was before. So, do you think
Yes,
there should be a women's IPL as well? Because I think they're just playing around 4 matches now in between, as you mentioned, right? Just 3 matches between 3 teams and just the finals. I think that is
that
too
doesn't
little
that,
and
that
not what
tournament
we are
doesn't
getting
make
from.
any sense. That tournament doesn't make any sense. You may be in the bench for one match, you may be in the bench for the second match, and if your team doesn't qualify, you don't get a match.
Correct.
The best you get is three
No,
matches.
that's what.
If
Yeah.
your team bats really well, and if you're a batter, you probably don't even get to bat. So your top four batters may bat out the all entire 20 overs, and you don't get to bat in your entire tournament. You just show up and leave. That doesn't make any
Right.
sense. See, I don't believe that there are there will be a lesser following of women's IPL than the women's 100 or the women's BBL. The Indian fan base is huge. I'm sure there will be following.
Yes.
It is not. It is a question of. The first edition of a full-fledged women's IPL should have taken place at least 5 years ago. It's already too late.
Right. You already spoke about Kohli's captaincy, like the way he kind of preferred five bowlers and stuff, right? So your
And
general thoughts on how his captaincy saga went. So what do you feel about his captaincy, the way he quit the captaincy and all that? So just
it sh- it was a non-issue that blew out of proportion. See, first when the T20 resignation, then came the ODI sacking. Both matters should have been discussed. Kohli discussed it with the selectors. Then the selectors discussed the ODI sacking with Kohli, and essentially these are. Kohli was not the first captain in history to resign. Kohli was not the first captain in history to be sacked. The entire incident was blown out of proportion, and that happened because and if that happens, an internal matter that if an internal matter is blown out of proportion, the organization should take more blame than the individual.
Makes
This
sense.
could have been handled more professionally.
100% agree. I think that's the right way to put it. That matter was blown out of proportion, but there is a body who is supposed to be governing these things, and they should be
Yes.
accountable as opposed to the individual who is impacted.